Welcome to our lesson on section 4.2, the if statement. I'm Professor Stiller-Schulman. Let's get started. Before we talk about the if statement, let's define one very important term, which is program control, or program flow. That just refers to the order in which the statements in our programs run. And there are actually three types of program control. Sequence is the first type, and sequence just means that one statement runs after the next, and so on and so on. We've seen that when we've written our main method, each statement just runs successively one after the other. The second type of program control, and actually the focus of this chapter, is selection. Selection means that one statement or a group of statements runs if a condition is true. If the condition's false, that statement or group of statements is just skipped. And the third type of program control we'll actually see in Chapter 5 on looping. It's repetition, a statement or group of statements that gets performed repeatedly. So, let's start with an example. Suppose that there's a consultant, and this consultant charges $50 per hour, but they always charge for a minimum of 5 hours. So, for example, if the consultant worked for 10 hours, well, they would end up charging what for their fee? Well, they would charge $500 for those 10 hours. Because, the minimum has been met. If they only worked for 2 hours, on the other hand, what would their fee be? Well, they always charge for a minimum of 5 hours, so even though they only worked 2 hours, they're gonna bill at a rate of $50 per hour for that minimum 5 hours. So, they'll actually charge $250. Not a bad deal. So, we can actually model this using a flowchart. And let's go ahead and draw that out. At the top there's a decision. And the decision is whether hours is less than 5. And that comparison, hours with 5, it might turn out to be true. So I'll put a little yes here. It might turn out to be false. And if it's true, then we want to set hours, a variable that's storing how many hours to charge for, equal to 5. Otherwise, we just want to keep hours whatever it was. And then once we're done with that, then we can go back and compute their fee, which is just going to be $50 times hours. Okay. So we're going to have to phrase this in terms of the C++ programming language, and the general format for an if statement is actually this right here. So the keyword if is followed by an argument in parentheses that is the condition, and it's just an expression that can be true or false. A lot of the time it's a relational expression, like hours is less than 5. That's a relational expression because it has the less than relational operator in it. And then if the condition's true, well, then these statements, statement 1, statement 2, they're grouped together in curly braces, and they run if the condition turns out to be true. If there's only one statement, you can drop the curly braces, like down below. So, in order to rephrase our algorithm for computing the pay, we can actually use this if statement here. Our condition is that hours is less than minimum hours, so hours is less than 5. And if that's the case, then we'll set hours equal to that minimum hours of 5. But if hours was 10, then this condition, well, would it be true or false? Well, if hours was 10, then hours less than min hours would be false. 10 is not less than 5, so we'll just skip over that statement in that case and leave hours as 10. So here's our consultant charge program, which uses an if statement as part of a full C++ program. A couple important things to notice are the preprocessor directives in lines 1 and 2, IOStream and IOManip. And then in line 7, the fact that pay rate is this constant set equal to the 50, and min hours is another constant set equal to 5. So then in lines 11 and 12, when the user's prompted to enter how many hours were worked, and that variable is, the value's read into that variable hours, then in lines 15, that if statement can start, where hours is checked to see if it was less than that minimum of 5 hours. The if statement ends in line 17, and then in line 20, the fee is calculated using that formula fee equals pay rate times hours. And then the following lines, lines 21 and 22, just display the fee out to 2 decimal places using those stream manipulators from chapter 3. So let's go ahead and take this program out for a spin. If we run the program, we're prompted for how many hours were worked. Let's go with 10. And it looks like the fee in that case is what we expected, 500. If we run it one more time, and this time put in 2 for the number of hours worked, just as expected, the fee is $250 in that case. Next up will be section 4.3, where we take a look at if statements that actually contain more than one statement.